Dylan Brumfield, a senior from Hattiesburg, and Bully Weeks, senior from New York City. Okay.
Could you give us an opening statement, Jay?
Yes. Okay. Glad to be back here, sitting and and being able to talk about tonight's game in a positive way, of course. And game went just as we expected. Kind of like really every game that we have played, and I think is probably that game I think was very symbolic of really the entire Sun Belt season. Yeah, really, really hard fought, physical, very physical game. Two I think really teams that pride themselves on toughness. Two schools I think that pride themselves on toughness. To be honest with you, hats off to Texas State in a way, and I say this in great respect. I'm glad we're not having to play them anymore in our league. I'm glad they're leaving, and I say that with respect to them. TJ, their coach, does a great job. New Orleans guy. He and I have chewed some of the same dirt down there, and anyways, great person and good friend, and really well coached. They really get after you defensively, and but I think they have an outstanding team, but I'm also proud of our team for being able to find a way to win today.
We'll open up now for questions. Kick it off, Paul.
Coach, hey, Paul Chestnut, Fox Sports, Pensacola Radio. Stats pretty much even. You talked about toughness. Was it the mental toughness you think of your team that won this game here for you tonight?
I think it was, Mr. Paul, I think it was a combination of mental and physical toughness, to be honest with you. Our team, we haven't always, throughout the course of our year, we've got a lot of new faces. I talked about this last night. We've got a local player who transferred from NAIA. We've got two junior college players in Bully and Isaac Tavares. We have a low Division I transfer and from Alcorn State in Jahi Benet, and then we have a Division II starter from of course our backups too, most all junior college guys. So it took us a little while to get going, and we always weren't the toughest team. We would let I think as the season progressed, we've gotten better and better and better and have grown up and matured. But we would let a missed call, something that didn't quite go our way, or if things weren't going good, we would let that turn into more and more mistakes. And mature players, winners, they don't do that. They, of course, everybody makes mistakes, and and so as the season has gone on, we've matured. We've shown a lot more mental toughness. We call it stone facing. No matter what happens, just go to the next play, stay the course. We're not always perfect, but we are so much further along than we were even 3 weeks ago. But from the start of the season to where we are now is it's really I'd tell you this. I'm not sure when we got up 7 or 8 there, and then they came back eventually and went ahead of us. I'm not sure we would have early in the season would have been able to withstand that. So yes, I think that we've shown a lot of maturity, a lot of characteristics of winners, and not letting the pressure of the moment, or the flow of the game make us not get to the next play and focus on. We've just done a lot better job there.
Coach, a question here from Zoom from Scott Kirk. How does Bully Weeks represent the Southern Miss grit that you always talk about?
I can't think of a player that would personify it anymore. If you look at his background, where he came from, of course he comes from a great family, and I'm not saying that. He comes from a great family, but the neighborhood that he grew up in, you got to be tough to survive in his neighborhood. And then for some crazy reason, he ends up in Summit, Mississippi at Southwest Community College. And up until we were one of the first schools to recruit him. I know we were the first one to offer him a scholarship, and I loved him, and he knows this. The first time that I saw him play, I offered him that very after that ball game, and I said, this is a guy that I think that fits what we're looking for. Tough. He's got kind of an old school game. I like that about him. He plays in the mid range, and the analytics these days say that's not the way to play. Right? They say layups. He's deadly at the foul line. He's a winner. When it gets to winning time, we can get him the ball and he's going to deliver. And he just continues to do it over and over. And I think he perfectly personifies what our school talks about grit. And he's, we say greatness resides in toughness and grit, Grit. That's what we say, and I think he personifies that.
Go ahead, Paul.
For both players, just talk about the game, the type of game that it was for both of you, and getting the win, and how you feel about it.
I'm definitely excited about the win. I feel like the game. We know coming in when we play Texas State, it's going to be a dogfight. Just hearing from Coach Lerner, every time we play Texas State, there's always a dogfight, a close game, just coming up to the last shots. And I feel like today we outcame with the win because we stayed together and fought through adversity.
Yeah, same thing, just piggybacking what he said. We fought, played as a team, and we just played hard and fought through adversity.
Three of our, just for your information, prior to tonight's game, 3 of the last 4 times that we had played Texas State were in overtime games. 3 of the last 4. So over last season, both times. This season, when we played at Southern Miss, and the one we played out there went literally to the last few seconds. It didn't go in overtime, but they beat us there. And so we knew what was at stake today, and we knew it was gonna come down to the last couple minutes. I was really proud of our team and the way we played in the last 4 minutes. I thought the last 4 minutes, I thought when it got to be winning time, we call it out. When it got to be winning time, we toughened up on defense, we toughened up on the boards, and we got the basketball where we needed to get it on the offensive end.
Coach, another question here from Zoom from Hunter Dawkins. Does this team remind you of your JUCO team at Jones that won 5 in a row to claim the championship?
Well, that team, of course, we've still got 3 to go, right? And I'm proud that we've won 2, and but here the similarity. There's 2 similarities, maybe a few more. That team had a nucleus of players. We had the team that won the national championship at Jones in 2014. We had in Mississippi Junior College, you can only have 3 out-of-state players, and we had 3 players all from Brooklyn, New York, and so we got that part, okay. And Bull knows some of my former players that played for me at Jones. Great players, tough, hard nosed, knew how to really play, and and then we had a bunch of just mostly small town Mississippi kids that filled out the roster that were all really good players too. So both of those areas of our country are blue collar. Mississippi's blue collar. It's known for its tough people. Certainly Brooklyn, New York's known for its tough people. And you missed those 2 together, and we had something special. And, of course, they went on and won it. And Hunter's talking about playing 5 games in 5 days. We've done it. Talked to our players about it. I think it's a state of mind. If your players are in that team, I say this about when people ask me about that national championship junior college team, that team played 5 in 5 nights. They wanted to stay some more and play 8 or 9 nights. Hey, who's next? That was their mentality. So I think we can, and I just told our team this right before walking here, we can play a lot better than we played tonight. We can play a lot better, and we're going to have to if we're going to continue to move forward. So there's a lot of similarities to answer Hunter's question. There's a lot of similarities, but mostly their attitude and their toughness, and that's the part that's the similar part, and that's why. No matter what happens with this team the rest of the way, I'm proud of this team, and they've shown championship quality, and I'm proud of it.
Another one here from Scott Kirk on Zoom, Coach. How pleased were you with the team's free throw shooting tonight?
Our free throw shooting has really been well. There was we dipped a little bit a couple of times, but Bully got 14 for 14. But he's like that every night. He's a high level driver. He can get to the foul line. Just as good as anybody I've ever seen. Of course, he takes a beating in there a lot too. I think sometimes he ought to shoot 30 or 40 free throws. The way he attacks the basket. And we have to play kind of an old school game. We don't shoot a lot of 3-point shots. Tonight we shot 8. We have to do it. We got to make our extra point. We're not an analytic team, or we're not going to fit with some of the younger coaches that are that are into analytics and so forth. And not that I'm not into analytics. I am into analytics. But I have to evaluate our team and what we have and try to put us in the best system possible for us to win, not what some book tells me to do. And so in our game, like I said with Bully, he's a mid-range guy. This guy's a mid-range guy. You know, he plays in the mid-range or at the rim, but because we can do that, we do draw a lot of fouls, and it's imperative to our game to make up for what we lack in three-point shooting that we are able to shoot free throws well, and we've consistently done that through the year. And the few games that we didn't, we would lose a close game and leave a lot of points on the table.
Let's go back over to Paul here.
So, Coach, the way that you won, physical game, you feel like you're on a roll in the way that you won here tonight will help you for round 3 for yourself?
I absolutely got to. Of course, App State hadn't played. We've played 2, but we've got one thing that we do have. We have 9 players that have started games for us, and we lost Isaac Tavares during the season for about 9 weeks. And we lost a couple of games during that time. Not a lot. In fact, I talked about this last night, how proud I was of our team when we didn't have Isaac, that they just stayed the course. But what that did is that helped us build a lot of depth. And we've got some guys that didn't even check in tonight that I'm very confident that if we need to put them in there in ball games, they're ready to go. And so, but yes, I think that or we should. We need to get home and get us some rest. We'll do the same routine we've done the last 3 days, and we'll go home and we'll start preparing for App State tomorrow. And we had a tough loss to them in Hattiesburg just a few weeks ago. So we know they've got a big physical team. So we're going to have to be ready to roll and kind of be on top of our game if we're going to have a chance. But any time that you can come somewhere and win a couple of ball games in a tournament. We got a tough bracket. This bracket is tough. If our bracket was like a lot of places, we would already probably be in the semis, right? Or maybe even the finals, depending on how many teams they took. But if I was in the old Southland, I coached in the Southland Conference. They only took 8 teams, and so we would be 8-4. We would be in even playing in the semis already. It would be quarterfinals. No, we'd be playing for the championship. With 8, So anyway, but hey, we got some work to do, and we still got 3 games left, but we've got to, if we're going to get to the NCAA tournament, which is our goal. But all we can focus on right now is what's ahead of us, and that is a great App State team that's well coached.
Coach Ladner already touched on it a little bit here, but another question from Hunter Dawkins, maybe for the players. You guys had 4 guys in double figures tonight. How important is that, depth and balance for your team, and obviously as you try to go through this tournament and playing back-to-back days?
Yeah, just kind of touch base with it a little bit with Hunter. We've got a lot of guys that can score it. Like Izzy Hart tonight, he only shot 2 balls. He had 4 points, so he was one of the only starter that we did have that didn't. But we didn't need him to do that tonight. We needed to get the ball where we needed to get the ball for tonight's matchup. But Izzy can really score it. He's a high-level scorer. He's had some great games for us over the last few weeks. So I like our guys. I like our team's depth, and those guys that come off the bench. All of them can score the ball.
I got one more here on Zoom from Scott Kirk for the players. What's the belief in accomplishing this challenge that you're facing in this tournament as you kind of look forward to tomorrow's matchup?
The belief is I feel like I got a lot of belief in my teammates. A lot of people in the Sunbelt counted us out. They rated us 13. And it's time for us to keep it rolling and it's proving everybody wrong.
Yeah, I got a lot of belief in my teammates, and especially in Coach, because he believe in us. And so we just stick together and we going to fight through.
We'll take one final question here with Paul.
Well, Coach, I actually got 2 questions for you, and it's away from the game. You brought up analytics, and you, Coach, I got a lot of respect. I saw your resume and all that. So
Thank you.
when it comes down to analytics or feel for the game, where do you go with that?
Feel. I'm too old, 60 years old, and again, I love learning and staying on the cutting edge about basketball, and I understand analytics. But our team is shooting nothing but threes and layups for our team is not the best use of our personnel. And I feel like that my experience at coaching at the high school level, where you're not choosing your players, you those boys that come to school there, and then of course in junior college in Mississippi, were very limited. You know, we couldn't go outside of our state other than 3 players, and we couldn't go outside of the country at that time. They can now in Mississippi, but when I was coaching there in 13 and 14, you could not. So we were very limited. I had to adjust my style of coaching, our tactics, all based on what our personnel was. So you had to learn. Some coaches, of course, have one style of play, and that's the way they play. I believe it's the coach's responsibility. If I was a football coach and we didn't have a quarterback to throw it, we would probably run the wishbone or some type of triple option. And I did coach football back in my younger days, but you know what I'm saying, to fit what we had, or we didn't have big linemen, we would run the wing too, or something that didn't require big, massive offensive linemen. Well, we don't have players. We do have some players that can shoot the 3. I'm not saying that we can't, because we absolutely can, but our best scorers are guys that can attack the basket. So that's what we try to do. And it's no secret. I'm not saying anything that the teams that we played against us last night. We played against James Madison. You could see the way they played. They had totally changed the way they played defensively against us. Then they put those big bodies. They packed them inside. They got in pack line and said, we're not going to allow Southern Miss to drive the ball to the basket. And so that's our responsibility. My responsibility as a coach is to put our players in the best system that we have offensively and defensively to give us the best chance of success for our school.
And I got one more off-the-wall question, because I'm old school. You're wearing a suit. What happened to the game?
Well,
with you wearing the suit, you know where I'm going with it.
Well,
Was it the COVID era that changed?
Yeah, it needs to get back there. But let me tell you where mine goes a little bit deeper. First of all, and that man that's standing back there, our athletic director, if you ever see him at work every day, he's got a coat on, very professional. He gets on us, our coaching staff, the head coaches, that if it's off season, he uses the term, if the governor of Mississippi showed up unannounced, are you professionally dressed? So I respect that. Okay, and he knows that. I respect that. The second thing, I grew up the son of a coach who was from the old school, and he taught boys that were eventually became head of a program that helped train, that Southern Miss had, that helped train coaches, boys that were studying to be coaches. And one of his big things was professionalism, to be professional, to be proud to be a coach, to represent coaching. And I'm not in any way, because there are times we go play on the road and so forth, and it's a lot easier for me to put on a quarter zip and so forth, but I heard Pat Riley say the other night at the Lakers game, and that you know what, I want to look over there and I want to see that coach that's in charge of a program. I want him to look at it, because you're kind of at this level, you're kind of a CEO, and that clicked me. And from that point forward, I said, I'm never going to wear a quarter zip again. But that's me. I don't look down on other coaches. They have to do what they have to do. But I think I'm proud to be called coach, and I want to project the right image for our university, for our athletic department, for my dad. My dad passed away during the season, and he was not a fan of the quarter zip coach. I can tell you that.
Will the game ever get back to that?
I hope so. I think if we don't do something in our grassroots programs, but I think it starts with people like at our level and the professional level, that we start changing those things, because they're simply going to kind of the grassroots people are going to kind of look and go with what we do. So I take my responsibility as the head coach at the University of Southern Mississippi very with a lot of pride, and I want us to project that. I want our players to be proud of who they represent, their families, their state, of course, our university.